Hey everyone, my name is Matt Shrimp, and I am the District Forester for the Montcalm, Kent, and Ionia Conservation Districts. Today we're going to be talking about how to properly hand plant tree seedlings. Planting trees can be a very exciting time, knowing that you are helping to create a future forest and helping conservation. But in order to ensure the greatest survivability of your trees, it is important that we do it properly. Bareroot seedlings are the easiest type of stalk to plant. They are classified by their age in a 2-number sequence when they are sold. That would look like 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, or 3-1. The two numbers mean different things. The first number refers to the number of years in which the seedling was grown in a nursery seedbed. The second number refers to the number of years that it was then grown in a nursery transplant bed. The bigger the numbers, the older the seedling. The two numbers added together give you the total age of the seedling. Also, per the name, these seedlings are packaged with bare roots. This makes them extremely susceptible to drying out and death, so be sure to keep them protected from the elements before planting. What we're going to do right now is called an underplanting. So we're going to plant these by hand. As you can kind of see, we're already in an established wood lot. There's mature trees of varying sizes, but most of them are of course all canopy trees. We got a good mixture of some hardwoods in here, some locust and some black cherry. Those are the two primary tree species in here. Again, it's called an underplanting, so essentially we're intentionally putting small tree seedlings into the forest floor, and by doing that we're just trying to create a good sort of understory to kind of encourage regeneration and give this forest another what we would call an age class, or sort of kind of not a mature canopy but a nice understory that'll grow to replace that canopy when these mature trees have all died and fallen over. So that's kind of the intention of this, and by putting these under here we're essentially protecting them from the elements because we have the mature trees around them. They'll get just enough sunlight, but they're not going to get sort of scorched by direct sunlight. And hopefully they'll have a little bit more deer protection, seeing as that there's a good amount of brush on the ground, so that hopefully we don't have to deal with overbrowsing from deer. Another thing to kind of be mindful of when we're planting in a forest setting like this, whether it be a small woodlot such as this or a much larger forested stand, we definitely want to keep an eye out and look for trails, not just human trails, but deer trails as well, that deer and other wildlife might frequent, just because we don't want to plant in those trails, as that will be a primary food source for the animals that traverse that area. So it's a little bit of reconnaissance and trying to figure out the best place to put it when you're doing an underplanting, sort of as this. Thing to kind of consider is we have a lot of leaves and debris and sort of these smaller sticks on the floor, and this creates a good sort of organic matter layer, and this is good. It gives good protection to the trees when we're going to plant them. It creates a very nutrient-rich topsoil almost, but you don't want to plant directly into it because it doesn't hold water very long, so it's very susceptible to drought. So we're going to be kind of digging in to this good dirt down here. Now this is being in central Michigan. It's mostly sand. It's a good sort of sandy loam. It's good for pine trees, and these white pines should do really well in this type of soil. So luckily, because we don't have a lot of tall grass, a lot of competing vegetation, we don't really have to do much sort of site prep or removing the vegetation around where we're going to plant these trees. So today we're going to demonstrate 3 different types of hand planting tools, just to sort of give you a good guide of the different things you can use and how exactly they are used in tree planting. So again, here we have our protected white pines. We can go ahead and unwrap them now, and so these should still be good and moist, and you'll be able to tell by looking at the roots, and these are still good, viable tree seedlings. So this is what we call a planting bar or a dibble bar, depending on where you have heard it before. This is a pretty simple tool for hand planting. These were fabricated. It's just steel, essentially, steel pipes with a piece of plate steel here on the end and a slight bevel on the tip there to kind of give us a good way to kind of get into the dirt. Very simple tool, very easy to use. So go ahead and demonstrate here now. So when you decide where you're going to plant, just going to kind of take the tool, put it down into the ground. Now hopefully it will have rained, or the ground will be soft already, as that's going to help sort of with this tree process, because otherwise it's going to be a lot more effort working with dry ground. So luckily it did rain here this weekend, so the ground should be pretty amiable for our hand planting. So just for those bars, just kind of push it into the ground with your feet. This is going pretty well. And you don't have to go all the way down to the top of this foot bar. Again, it's all going to be based on the roots that are on your tree seedlings. So to open the hole, we'll pull back toward us, and then we'll push forward on the bar. Then you can remove the bar, and you'll see we've created a slight seam in the ground here, and that's going to be where our tree seedling and the roots are going to go down into. So again, the depth can be as variable as you need it based on what kind of trees you're planting. So we'll come over here and get our tree seedling. This looks like a good one. So again, as we were talking about earlier, you can see right about here on the tree, we see all these dead needles. So that's actually where the soil line, when this was growing in the nursery bed, was. So everything that's below this line, we're going to want to make sure is in the ground, just to give it a proper root system. So the next thing that's important when we're doing this is we don't want to J-root this seedling. So when we think about planting, we want the seedling to sit straight up and down in that hole that we've created, so that the roots will naturally grow down and out as they should. So if we aren't careful, we can J-root it or L-root it, and the roots will grow either directly sideways or back and up, and that will kill our tree seedling. So to make sure that we don't do that, we'll just kind of guide those roots down into this crevice here. This is plenty deep enough. We're just going to push those roots down, making sure we're getting them nice and straight. I always like to push it as far down as I can below that root collar where we're going to put that soil line, and then pull it up just a little bit, and that's going to make sure that we don't sort of get those roots coming back up on us. And then we can sort of set it against the side there. There we go. We'll take our bar once again. We'll insert it next to where we put the seed, sort of in an angle. So we're going to put the bottom of the bar towards the bottom of those roots. And we're going to pull the bar towards us. What that's going to do is push the soil against those bottom roots and close any air pockets that we might have. And then we'll take the top, push it into the tree seedling. That will again close the rest of the gap. And then from there, we can just heel it in. And there we've planted our first tree seedling in this underplanting. Our next hand planting tool that we have, this is called a hoe dad or a planting hoe. These are more common out in the western United States because these are very good for planting on steep slopes and sort of things of that nature. So you won't typically use it in a flat setting as this, but it's another good hand planting tool to use. So there's, of course, various styles. This one has, this is a 36-inch handle. Some can be shorter, some can be longer, depending on the planter's preference. And this blade is relatively shallow for some that you'll see. So this is actually the planting side. We're going to use this to create our sort of crevice in the ground. And then the back part of this is a grubber that we'll use to kind of scalp the floor and make sure that we get good contact with soil. So it's kind of clear an area here we're wanting to plant. And then this one takes a little bit more upper body work than our planting bar, as it's all sort of swung like an axe and uses those upper body muscles. Push it into the ground. A lot of times use your foot to kind of push it a little bit further, make sure we got good depth. And then again, just like the planting bar, we're going to pull up, push down, and that's going to give us a good hole that we can put our tree in. Again, we'll get our seedling. We'll just put it up to that sort of root collar right about there. Get all the roots in our hole here. Push it all the way down. Bring it up just a little bit till we get where we want that soil line to be. And then with this one, it's very similar to the planting bar. We can kind of force it in, push the soil against our tree seedling. And then with this one, because it has such a flat blade, we can actually use it to heel it in as well. And that's the hodad. Last but not least, our third hand planting tool is the one that most people are going to be using just because everyone has one of these, but this is just a standard shovel. And this and the planting bar are going to be the two most common tools that you're going to use in hand planting. So it's going to be a similar method. Because these are bare root seedlings, we don't need to dig any holes. We're just going to use this to create a small seam in the ground that we're going to use to put our tree seedling in. So again, just kind of scrape out these leaves, make sure we know exactly what we're planting into. Take the shovel, try and get the blade as straight as possible. Create that seam. And again, just pull back and push on it. And we'll just put our seedling in here. Now this one we might have to open up just a little bit more. Yeah, we'll open that one up just a little bit more. There we go. Make sure we get all our roots down in there. And you can definitely see if you're J-rooting these when you're putting this in, this hole. And then this nice, where the handle was, it gives you kind of a nice place to put your stem here. Get it down to that root collar. Kind of push him into the dirt there. And then we'll just kind of use a similar method here. We'll just kind of put it in backwards. Push to close that bottom. And push up to close what's left here at the top, and then just heel it in. So that is hand planting in our understory here with our three main hand planting tools.